In the English, we learn accent, intonation, rhythm, and melody. And pronunciation, letters, and words. But in my experience till now, all that there is in every language. Okay, it's not, but I would say that all day there is separately, individually for every person. Accent and pronunciation is something equal for all. Native speaker, accent and pronunciation, word pronunciation, letters. But intonation, melody, and rhythm, it is individual for every person. I think so. For example, when our actors speak, when our actors read some poet, every actors will have rhythm, intonation, melody, individual. He connect with his emotion, and that emotion is not equal. Same poem induce same emotion in every reader, but it didn't same deep, and it didn't same individually same intensity, and because of that, and temperament and emotion of actors, of readers, give us separately individual pronounce, individual talk, individual reading, rhythm, intonation, etc. We individually can think, we individually decide what is important and what is important in one paragraph, in one sentence. When we look at one panorama picture, when we look at one, when we're walking and look at street, every of us will saw details, different details. Different details in that picture. No one of us see all details. No. Every of us see separate details. It means that picture is a big picture. Panorama is some paragraph in the text, in the book, and when somebody read that paragraph, he will emphasize, for example, look at dog, look at cat, look at this house, and the other person with him which look same panorama, same picture in same direction, would say, look at that car, look at that person, look at that high skyscraper, look at that building material of that house, look at facade of that house, and etc. And the same is, it is connected with accent also. Something have high accent, high experience, emotions on some details, other have on other. It is connected with words, etc. And complete melody can be different, because every language, person behind every language have emotion. And when reading some text in strange language, he emotionally feeling that text, and that feeling can be different, but we cannot expect a big difference. And because of that, I listen a book and readers who read that book, and I don't see some special difference between English intonation and rhythm and Croatian intonation and rhythm. For example, we listen readers the power of habit.
How habits work. 123. A man.
How habits work. In the fall of 1992, a man who would happen much of what we know about habits walked into a laboratory in San Diego for a scheduled appointment. This was me, now native speaker. Now again native speaker.
White hair would have inspired and
now me. He was elderly, a shade over 6 feet tall, and neatly dressed in a blue button-down shirt. Now, next sentence, me also. His thick white hair would have inspired, and why? In why? At any 50 high school reunion. Again, his thick white hair would have inspired in why at any 50th high school reunion. His thick hair, I go down, his thick white hair, go down, and now up, would have inspired in why, and now flat, at any 50th high school reunion. At any 50th high school reunion. Now native speaker.
At any 50th high school reunion. Arthritis.
Must go a little back. I can hear back small part, but I refresh complete page and start it again from the beginning.
Chapter 1.
Chapter 1.
The habit loop.
The habit loop.
How habits work.
How habits work.
1. In the fall of 1993, a man who would upend much of what we know about habits walked into a laboratory in San Diego for a scheduled appointment.
In the fall of 1992, a man who would upend much of what we know about habits walked into a laboratory in San Diego for a scheduled appointment.
He was elderly, a shade over 6 feet tall.
He was elderly, a shade over 6 feet tall,
and neatly dressed in a blue button-down shirt.
and neatly dressed in a blue button-down shirt. Now I will read first, and after me, native speaker, me. His thick white hair, I go down, would have inspired in why, I go up, at any, and now flat, at any 50th high school reunion. Now, native speaker. Does he will go down? His thick white hair would, his thick white hair would, his thick white hair would, his thick white hair would have inspired, I go, his thick white hair would, I go down, have inspired in why, would have inspired in why. Does native speaker go down, his thick white hair would have inspired in why, all time down, at any 50 high school reunion? Okay, we look at where he have down and up and down. Repeat me. His thick white hair, I go down, would have inspired in why, up, would have inspired in why, up, at any 50th high school reunion, at any 50th high school reunion, flat. Okay, I go down, up, and flat. Now, now native speaker.
His thick white hair would have inspired envy at any 50th high school reunion.
Okay. He go down longer than me. His thick white hair would have inspired in why at any 50th high school reunion. Actually, he go up, his thick white hair would have inspired in why at any 50th high school reunion. He go down, I think so, he go down, his thick white hair, his thick white hair would have inspired, his thick white hair would have inspired in why, all time down, I go down only till hair, I go up with would have inspired, his thick white hair would have inspired in why, and flat. He go down, his thick white hair would have inspired in why at any 5th high school reunion all the time. But does it now important that I must have intonation like he? Does this sentence I must said, I must pronounce, I must talk like he, or is correct mine version like his version? It is my question. Next sentence. Arthritis caused him to limp slightly as he paced the laboratory's hallways, and he held his wife's hand, walking slowly as if unsure about what each new step would bring. I think it is first time when I finding meanings, but I think in my pronouns is the big problems continuity and connection, and it is normal for beginners and people who have not a lot of practice, who have not enough practice in speech, and that continuously, and that connection of the word, that and the speed, it is a problem, a bigger and principal problem, bigger than intonation. Intonation, when we have, when we understand, when we know meaning, when we know meaning, we read that with that meaning. There is mark, different marks in a sentence. There is a question mark and others marks who give you orientation for intonation and for melody. I start again this sentence. Arthritis caused him to limp slightly as he paced the laboratory's hallways, and he held his wife's hand, walking slowly, as if unsure about what each new step would bring. Now, original.
Arthritis caused him to limp slightly as he paced the laboratory's hallways, and he held his wife's hand, walking slowly, as if unsure about what each new step would bring.
There is a lot of up and down, and marks in sentence, sometimes not marks where a native speaker change melody. Again, arthritis caused him to limp slightly as he paced the laboratory's hallways, and he held his wife's hand, walking slowly, as if unsure about what each new step would bring. Now I can rewind and repeat some sentence. Okay, we start. Original.
1.
Native speaker.
In the fall of 1993, a man who would upend much of what we know about habits walked into a laboratory in San Diego for a scheduled appointment.
Now me. In the fall of 1993, a man who would append much of what we know about habits walked into a laboratory in San Diego for a scheduled appointment. Now again, native speaker.
One. In the fall of 1993, a man who would upend much of what we know about habits walked into a laboratory in San Diego for a scheduled appointment.
Now me again. In the fall of 1993, it is go up. I go up. I have mark here. A man who would append much of what we know about habits, it is one dach, one air from my mouth, from my breast. A man who would append much of what we know about habits, and in that part of the sentence there is no mark. And now new air from my breast, from my mouth, is
1. In the fall of 1993, a man who would upend much of what we know about habits walked into a laboratory in San Diego for a scheduled appointment. 1. In the fall of 1993.
Okay, here, in the fall of 1993, it go up. In the fall of 1993, we have Mark in that part of the sentence, and he go, in the fall of 1993, it was 1 air from the moon. And a little down, up, down, up, down, up intonation on 93. After that, a man who would append much of what we know about habits. Let me listen original now. A man who would append much.
A man who would upend much of what.
A man who would append much of.
We know about habits.
Much of what we know about habits. It is all one air, we can say a little connected construction, very connected and with 1 air from the moon. A man who would append much of what we know about habits, and in that place, habits, he stop, he take care again, and after that, walk into laboratory. Listen original, listen native.
Walked into a laboratory in San Diego for a scheduled appointment.
Walk into laboratory in San Diego. Here, stop a little for a scheduled appointment. And there is 4 parts. In the fall of 1993, a man who would append much of what we know about habits, it is the 2, 1, 2, taking care. Walk into laboratory in San Diego, it is 3, take care. 3rd time take care for a scheduled appointment. Now I can try. In the fall of 1993, a man who would append much of what we know about habits. 2, walk into laboratory in San Diego for a scheduled appointment.
Part 1. Habits work. 1. In the fall of 1993,
It's up.
a man who would upend much of what we know about habits walked into a laboratory in San Diego for a scheduled appointment. He was elderly.
His thick
Arthritis caused him to limp slightly.
His thick white hair would have inspired in why at any 50th high school reunion. Yeah. My question is, does every readers must read, every native readers would read with that intonation like this reader? Narrator. It is they called that working place is narrator. And again, my question is, does it every narrator would pronounce in same intonation, in same melody, that part, that text?